Just curious, how many high schoolers in this room? By show of hand. Man, can we hear a big round of applause for her? It's a weeknight. It's pretty awesome. All right. College students? Oh, we have a very old crowd. Wow, okay. All right. Boo. Yeah, that's it. I'm leaving. All right. So normally, guys, I never write anything before I speak. I don't know what happened to me this time. I actually wrote a few pages. So honestly, so first and foremost, thank you, JD, for the platform and giving me the chance to speak here. It's very simple. I'm here to share a simple yet not always an obvious idea that we have known through generations. It's what I call how to be unapologetically authentic. Well, my name is Roni Mazumdar, and I'm an entrepreneur who creates memorable experiences, is what I say. I studied engineering, worked in Fortune 500 companies for a decade, studied theater and film, and then went on to open 3 restaurants in New York City, named Rahi, Adda Indian Canteen, and the Masalawala. There's a 4th one opening later this year. I'll keep you guys posted. And currently, I'm exploring the future of dining by integrating AR and VR to create a more immersive dining experience. Having fun, doing what I can. This all might sound a little bit fancy, etc., but the truth is I got here over a period of time in my life when I started to slowly believe that I needed to listen to my own voice. I needed to follow my own clock. It does get me late every so often. And simply to be what I call unapologetically authentic. I think there's more of a relevance of this topic in the lives of Asians living in America today. I've realized that it has more to do with our sense of being a minority and sometimes an inferiority complex that we suffer from, partly maybe due to our colonial past, or maybe is just about feeling accepted that we all do as human beings. Then why not just assimilate, get it over with, follow the pack, and just move on? Well, I want to share with you 3 stories as to why I don't believe we should follow the pack, as to why I believe we should follow our own voice, and we must be ourselves. My first story is about believing that there's no such thing as a small or a big job, but only life experience. I say this because growing up, there was this firm belief that as I looked around, I respected those who had the biggest jobs, the biggest titles, the highest financial freedom, etc. But to me, that's what society teaches us to do. And even a year ago, I might have cringed at sharing the story that I was helping my father run a fruit cart in the financial district in the late 90s. Looking back, I wonder why I felt so awkward sharing the greatest entrepreneurial journey of my entire life, which was running a fruit cart. Truth is that I never spoke publicly about being a street vendor until I felt comfortable sharing with Lynn, who spoke a few minutes ago on Rock the Boat podcast. Even she does not know this, but it gave me anxiety realizing that more than her might hear the story, depending on her popularity of the podcast. But I just let go and I shared. Most of my life, I saw being a fruit seller as a symbol of weakness and poverty, rather than a testament of strength, resilience, and perhaps the greatest MBA the universe could ever presented me with. It goes back to the simple idea that somewhere there was even, or maybe still is, there's a sense of inferiority that played a role as if I was selling drugs somewhere on a street corner. Maybe because I felt coming to America, I ended up taking a step back rather than the middle-class lifestyle I had in India. I was 13 years old when my father, who was a lawyer in India, took on this job as a form of fast cash for the family. We were new in the country and the family needed some immediate financial foundation. There was no money for him to go to school, or there was no insurance in place. Just cold, hard cash was needed to jumpstart the family. It was indeed fast money, but not easy money. The best part of it, that it had all the nuances of running a small business without the glamour of a brick and mortar shell. It required backbreaking effort for what we considered at the time a decent return. It required focusing on products, customer service, vendor relations, and the whole gamut of knowledge to run a small business. And we thrived. We really did. I got to see the power of waking up at the crack of dawn, put in physical labor to push a cart from the garage to our spot, across one Battery Park Plaza, break down the boxes on the sidewalk, and earn the business of the neighborhood via sheer customer service while selling the exact same fruits that was being sold on every single city block. Trust me, because it's the same vendor that gives us the fruits. We were not cultivating these fruits. We knew it was a success when people would skip 3 or 4 fruit stands just to chat with my father in the morning and pick up a single banana. That's product differentiation, memorable experience, guest loyalty, all in one package. We were building trust with our patrons, and I got to slowly learn the DNA of running a business. But it was not until I reached my internship at General Electric that I felt worthy or any sense of success. Selling fruits was my dark secret past. As a teenager, maybe I was afraid that we can only amount to the job we perform, since that's all I've seen repeatedly in India and America. And you want to know something crazy? There's no such thing as forever. It's a myth that doing small jobs makes you less of a person than a prestigious internships. Take it from a person who has done both. Each work you do is a snapshot in a specific moment in time that you have the power to change and consistently evolve from. Showing up to a desk job and hiding behind a title while having less than 40% productivity will be far more damaging to you than those who are making each moment count. Funny part was that just from running a fruit cart, we were even earning more than some of the people who suited up to buy fruits from us. But I still felt small because I was focused on the surface rather than the philosophy of running a business. Today, I'm an entrepreneur and a restaurateur due to that very experience. A ton of my peers ask me that without having any business background, where did I learn the basics? How did I start? It was my past job of being a fruit seller that gave me an option to start my journey a decade ago. So it's a myth that there is such a thing as a small job. We are as big as we aspire to be. The funny part is that now, after owning almost 4 restaurants, I still feel small when I look at those who own 40. The reality is that all business owners are vendors. Some happen to have glamorous shells. So why not take pride in each experience that life has offered us while figuring out how to evolve from there? No one can hold you back other than your own mind. My second story is about exploring the topic of how ethnic is too ethnic. I'm in a room full of Asians here, guys. I'm going to be very honest. We all do a lot of stuff, but somewhere deep down inside, we all know there are certain ethnic things we just don't do in front of our friends. It's just what it is. Well, here's one. Each meal I have at home, I do not use cutlery. I eat with my hands. Unless I'm eating pasta, then I use chopsticks. Long story. Eating with your hand is the most beautiful experience since you connect with your food in a whole new organic way. Anything else is like having sex with all your clothes on. Just does not have the same feeling. Trust me. Take it from a guy who does it every day. And a quarter of the population is actually doing this. This is a small enough thing that I'm proud to share with my friends and even force them to eat with their hands when they come to my home. However, when it comes to business, it's a whole new sentiment that plays in your head, since unlike my friends, my patrons can choose to walk out or not come at all. The mindset played a huge role when I opened my first restaurant, the Masalawala, in 2011. I distinctly remember telling the chef to tone down the spices. We created options called mild, medium, hot, and Indian hot. Absolutely true. On the POS system, there's an option called Indian hot. Where are we? Okay, Indian hot. And it wasn't until I opened my third restaurant, Adda Indian Canteen in Long Island City, I fully realized the power of being unapologetically authentic. We opened this tiny shop in Long Island City that we wanted to call Adda. I woke up one morning and I was like, I should call it Adda. But then I was afraid that no one will show up and no one will know how to pronounce it. Is it Adda, Ada, Adda, what? Who? Like, it's just this confusing mess. And then I decided to add this portion called Indian Canteen. Again, confusion and fear striking. Canteen is what most Indians refer to a cafe. But calling something canteen in America might give it a totally different sense. Our PR guy was telling me, calling it canteen, you're going to give it a feel like the army dines there. It's like, really? Wow. Okay, maybe I shouldn't. But I listened to my instincts. I spent about 2 weeks thinking about this. And I said, let's take a chance. If not now, then when? And if not me, then who? The purpose was to share a sense of our culture in the most honest fashion. So why am I today, on my third venture, holding back and afraid to really share what I actually believe represents my culture? And then came the big one. The chef proposed a menu that was way too ethnic for my choice. I'm not joking. I mean, if there is such a thing as too ethnic, I mean, goat brains and chicken liver? How many people have eaten goat brains in your life? All right. 2 people. That's when you start to get real ethnic, trust me. And to me, I was scared out of my mind. I'm like, this will definitely scare the mainstream population away. I'm going to shut my business in 3 months. And then he proposed this idea that our dishes would actually lack any kind of innovation. It's actually going to focus on really where our heritage comes from. And it's going to be honest and true to its nth degree. What do I mean by this? I mean, slit green chilies in your food, whole spices that you might have to bite into, no heavy cream, meat and fish on the bone like we grew up eating in India. Yeah, and the big one is there will be no spice leveling, no more mild, medium, hot, and Indian hot. We're going to make each dish as the most honest portrayal of what they are meant to be. We will no longer apologize for cooking our dishes the way they are meant to be. This means that some of our dishes will be ugly, by standard opinion, will be oily, also by standard opinion, and will be super spicy. But they will represent our food with integrity. Keep in mind, we also run another modern Indian restaurant in the West Village called Rahi. This was going very well. So I'm like, why are we screwing this up? We already have something going. Now the third venture, you want to come in and have this drastically insane idea. But I honestly gave it a thought. We had a disagreement at the time. I came back the next morning and I asked myself, I said, if he's the artist and he truly feels that there's a calling, look at this, shattering glasses and myths all together. Then why not let him do what he does best? And we pivoted, and we made this idea, and which is a polar opposite, and really found this vibrant way of showcasing our cuisine. To my greatest surprise, Adda Indian Canteen earned 2 stars from the New York Times and was one of the top 10 Indian restaurants, not Indian restaurants, was one of the top 10 restaurants of 2018 by every major publications. And the funniest part, dishes like goat brains and chicken liver was the biggest highlight. It started to earn national attention from getting a James Beard Foundation nomination as the best new restaurant in the country. Are you kidding me? People can't even pronounce the name. The simplest interpretation of our cuisine has brought about the highest accolades we could have ever dreamed of, has become the biggest success story of my career. We don't always have to assimilate to make the society better, but work together in being unique. We each bring about a new perspective to the world we should never be afraid to share. It's an absolute myth that you might not be accepted in the mainstream population if you're too ethnic. Be yourself, honor yourself, and find integrity in what you do. Everyone will cherish that around you. And my final story is about trusting your instincts and having your own voice. So how did I get here from where am I going? Well, for starters, you don't have to follow someone else's path to be successful. None of us are born with a map of success or have a clue where we will be headed if we chart our own path. Thus, fear of unknown sneaks up on us and stops us from hearing our own voice. I sincerely believe that all the answers of the universe lie within us, and all we have to do is listen carefully. I know it sounds like some hokey bullshit, but believe me, there are some guiding principles that I believe we're all born with that we cultivate over time. We just have to keep listening to ourselves, to go for the things that we really want. You know it's your calling if you can't stop yourself from doing it. And I mean that for each and every single person in this room or on this planet. First, you must believe that you have your own voice. Then you must learn to trust it. Don't drown it with all the noise around it. I ended up going to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, to study engineering. Even though it's one of the top engineering programs in the nation, I knew instantly it was a mistake, since the school had an incoming class of 3-to-1 guy-to-girl ratio. Disaster. Absolute disaster. I mean, for God's sake, man, like really, where was my college experience? I did find my wife there, so I shouldn't complain. I studied information technology since my goal was to achieve the highest paying jobs out of my school. Did exciting internships. And ended up at my dream job in a Fortune 500 company. But when my friends started to get their MBAs, I had this gnawing little voice in me that was saying that I was severely lacking a foundation in arts in my life. Thus, I ended up going to Lee Strasberg to study film and acting. This endeavor took me to the Cannes Film Festival, made me one of the faces of the largest Indian network in America. While all this was going on, I recognized that my father, who was then working at the New York Police Department Traffic Division, thank God he didn't have a gun, was due for his retirement. I felt the urgency to do something that would not make him feel old, because sometimes, like many of our dads, end up feeling obsolete. I've grown up seeing him as a hero within the family, and all of a sudden, it killed me to actually think about that, wow, today or tomorrow, my father will actually not have a job to go to, and what was he going to do? He took this entire chance of coming to this country, and maybe I can look back and do something about it. So I was doing all of this, and I ended up opening the Masalawala in the Lower East Side in 2011. I was doing this while having a day job and studying film. I felt that an MBA is for people who are looking for a job. I wanted to create ideas that resulted in jobs for others. I wanted to break the shackles of a typical first-generation immigrant and actually have the ability to dream. At this point of my life, things became thoroughly convoluted from a conventional perspective. Most people around me, including my parents, were confused as to why I would do things that were so distinctly different from one another without a clear career path in my head. I was just following the voice that was inside me rather than the voices around me. I had faith that each of these will connect one day, but I was not obsessed on having them connect at that very moment with a clear and tangible return in sight. Today, it is no coincidence that I'm working on a virtual reality dining experience. Having a decade of tech under my belt, having worked and produced films that taught me storytelling, and finally the last decade of being a restaurateur, I was quickly able to jump on creating an AR/VR program when majority of my hospitality peers didn't get enough exposure to these distinctly different disciplines that are necessary to get into this unknown territory. I do not know exactly where it will lead to, but I know wherever it is, it would be my unique story to tell and not a borrowed one from anyone else. Drop conventional wisdom and follow your instincts fearlessly. If done with utmost passion, it will lead to a magical place that not even you can imagine today. And I will close by saying that there's no such thing as a big or a small experience. There's only life experience. Listen to your voice and trust your instincts. Be yourself fearlessly in all aspects of your life. Myths are created because a small portion of society follows a path. Being yourself will unshackle you from everyone, and being yourself will unshackle you and everyone around you, and it will help shatter many more myths to come. Be a legend, not a myth. Be unapologetically authentic. Thank you.